I've been working with graffiti for 10 years now, and I've found that graffiti is its own has its own culture. So it doesn't matter where country you're from, you can be part of that culture. Because the whole idea when you are in that culture, when you're on the street, is create your own identity. So you are trying to create your own identity and trying to get others know you, but by that. And how all street artists start is creating a tag. So I've been researching how people construct an identity through deciding picking up a name, choosing a name for themselves, and then choosing an aesthetic to put that name out in the street. It might be using letters or um, using images, designs. But with the kids, what we started doing was that so we will be filming all the time, even when we were like going out to get them. I would give the camera to the kids, and the kids would record themselves. I think I've learned that to kind of like delegate that process a little bit. Although I really like also recording and having the camera myself, but I find very interesting also then working with that material. I believe I enjoy more working with those images that I get from others. So the kids will be documenting all the process, like us getting them, and then how we started constructing. So we were gonna construct. Each kid had the task of creating their own tag. So they first learn what is a tag in the graffiti world, which is a name. So the first thing they had to do is go home and choose a name, and they had to explain to me why they chose the name. But they had to choose a name that reflect on their cultural identity and their background. So they went home and they asked their parents where they're from, um, why they had the name that they had, like the real name. Most of them were more interested in like why their parents gave them that name, where that name come from. And then something interesting happened. They actually decided choosing a name for themselves, having nothing to do um, with their cultural background nation-wise, but they chose a name that defined a contemporary culture based on globalization and like the internet and the culture that's very, I don't know, that links everyone from that generation. So yeah, after they chose that name, they had to create their own aesthetic. And so we would like film very classically, like they would like sit down and they had the camera and they had to explain their tag and why they choose their tag and that name. And then we'll go on in the second half of the day to work on the aesthetic of their name they chose their graffiti. So they learn how to use a spray can, they learn how to use other tools that are not very traditional in the graffiti, like sprayers, and they also learn how to experiment and work with we didn't work actually in walls of Talude, because I think that the whole I don't know. I thought that maybe the whole process of getting that was gonna delay and somehow us creating work. So we found there was a lot of cardboard they kept to recycle. So we used those cardboards as canvases. And I brought in some also plywood that I have in my studio. So we were working on these recycled materials as our canvas. We just like gave them a coat of primed them with white paint, and then we started working also collaboratively. The kids had to share the same canvas, let's call it like cardboard, or in the same way that artists have to share walls and have to work around the same buildings when they're outside. So it was like also kind of a reflection on how to, respect each other and work around in the same space.